Well, good Tuesday, everybody. Meteorologist Ben Dery once again filling in for Rich Marriott this week. And once again, earlier this morning, we did see some of those rare noctilucent clouds, those clouds that are about 50 miles up off the ground, a lot higher than your normal high clouds. And we actually captured that with a time-lapse loop from Saltizon Alki. Take a look at this. This was earlier. This is just before sunrise. You can see those higher wispy clouds, almost that electric blue clouds. There they are. They show up about an hour or 2 hours before sunrise, which is a very cool sight. All right, high temperatures today, even warmer than what we saw yesterday. Many of us did reach into the upper 70s to lower 80s, and we should be pretty much up there once again today, if not a couple degrees warmer, maybe a little uncomfortable for some. Ridge of high pressure keeping us high and dry for one more day. There's that weather system we talked a little bit about yesterday that will give us some rain chances as we head into the day tomorrow. In fact, parts of the north coast and maybe the northwest interior might see a stray shower late this evening, but most of that's going to hold off until overnight tonight. You can see 7 a.m. tomorrow, a couple of showers around, nothing heavy, but the chance for at least a few showers will be around through the day tomorrow, and then we clear out back to more sunshine as we head into the day on Thursday. How much rain are we looking at with tomorrow's system? Not a lot, probably not even enough to not have to water your garden. Most of us looking at less than 1/10 of an inch of rain in the forecast, and tomorrow's highs will knock down about 10 degrees. We're looking at highs dropping from the low to mid 80s into the low to mid 70s for highs. Here's the rest of your forecast. We clear back out to more sunshine and warm temperatures Thursday and Friday. Few showers over the weekend, Saturday with a slightly better chance as we head into Sunday.